This isn't any regular heat. This is nuclear heat. Live from the 93.7 The Ticket studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. Bringing you the latest from the Square Circle on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Jake Bakovic.
Yes, we are bringing the heat a little bit earlier in the afternoon, or I guess into the evening here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Jake Bakovic. He is Augie Pinion. We're ready to talk some pro wrestling here on The Ticket. Good time to do it. Of course, Crown Jewel was yesterday in part of a busy college football Saturday, but nevertheless was able to watch some Crown Jewel. Stayed offline, so, you know, it was obviously in Perth, Australia, so it was done early in the morning, so I watched the Huskers play, and then I got to my Crown Jewel viewing experience. Augie, how did you approach the early time here in the U.S.?
So I was up at 2:30 a.m. to do the market to market. So, you know, I ran my portion of it, and while I was in the van, I was able to watch that while it was going on my phone, listen to it more than anything. And then when the Huskers played, I did the exact same thing. That's kind of what pushed me through. You know, running those miles and whatnot. So it was fun. It was long. You know, it's always cool when something like that happens. And I guess we got to get used to it because WWE's got a lot of they moved their premium live events to Saturday. So, you know, during college football season, so it's going to happen. Hey, Huskers are back too. You know, we're pretty good. We're winning road games, all that stuff. So, you know, it makes it even more exciting right now.
Well, yeah, of course. And then the James Franklin firing will get us all worried, and plenty to talk about throughout the week here on The Ticket. So there's no shortage of that. That's good. I noticed your Eagles gear has disappeared. 2 losses and you're off the bandwagon. Huh?
Well, no. We played Thursday night, but yes, it's been very hard right now for us Eagles fans, especially taking that L to the Giants there. But, you know, we didn't play today, so I wore my stuff into the office and all day on Thursday. And I will just say I did not wear the Saquon Barkley jersey. I wore the Devontae Smith one. So I got to go back to just kind of rocking the Saquon Barkley jersey because that seems to be the one where that's got the good juju going.
Yeah, there you go. We'll see if the Eagles can get back into it. Of course, lots of fun here midway through the football season in college and getting there in the NFL as well. But lots of fun in the pro wrestling arena as well. Was, of course, watching Monday Night Raw, SmackDown this week, too. I also noticed while watching Monday Night Raw, Braun Strowman, of course, out of the WWE, now is going to get a show where he eats stuff and takes like a man versus food type of challenge. I was kind of surprised to see that, but good for Braun, I guess. Like we always say, TV time is good time.
Yeah, it's something. You know, it's very surprising to see how a lot of these WWE, I'll just say superstars because that's what they're called. How they keep their name and kind of keep things going. A lot of them go, you know, in a different route, but you know he's going with that. So yeah, good for him. And I'll be honest, he's like almost 7 foot, like 350 pounds. I would be curious to see, you know, what he, you know, kind of what a meal like, you know, for him looks like there.
Yeah, that must be a talent of his. So I don't know. I'm not big on man versus food or any of that stuff, but I might tune in just to see if he's got the entertainment aspect of it. I always thought he did pretty good as far as, you know, the acting and that sort of stuff. So we'll see. And was really surprised. I know a lot of people kind of feel the same way, but just underutilized, I thought, his last run with WWE. And so we'll see if this can kind of help him get back into the squared circle at some point. But we better start talking about Crown Jewel. We'll talk about a little bit of what happened Monday Night Raw and SmackDown and some of the angles outside of what went on at Crown Jewel. But I thought this was an excellent event, very much toned down compared the presentation wise there in Australia compared to in Saudi Arabia. So, you know, that was it didn't feel like the same event. I'll just kind of put it that way. And they've been doing this over the last several years where they really put a heck of a card together for this event. Sometimes, you know, better than WrestleMania in many of the angles. And I thought they did a pretty good job here too. But it's not that hard now that they've kind of set this up and as taking over Survivor Series where you have champ versus champ. And we talk about that ad nauseum here on the show throughout the last couple of years. Now we're going into year 3 here on Nuclear Heat. Not necessarily a huge fan of that. We'll get into it in the specific matches here, but I do think even, you know, I think some of the losers of these matches have lost some steam. So we'll get to that. Let's start off with how they started off with Bronson Reed against Roman Reigns. Of course, Bronson Reed, heavy underdog in this match. Roman Reigns not often pinned. In fact, the stats started coming out after that Bronson Reed ended up winning this match. That he was him and Cody are the only ones that have pinned Roman Reigns in the last couple of years. This one went about how you would expect it to go if you had rugby balls being thrown at Paul Heyman as part of what you expected. So I would say there's a little bit of an element of surprise there. It was an Australian street fight, so they were able to kind of play with that, and they had some fun with some different weapons there. But ultimately, no surprise that we see Braun Breaker get a surprise. No surprise, but it was written in as a surprise spear there on Roman Reigns. The Usos would come down and help Roman to try to even the odds or obviously better them. But ultimately, Jay is going for a spear on Bronson Reed in the corner with Roman Reigns behind him. Bronson Reed ducks out of the way, and Jay spears Roman through the table. This allows Bronson Reed to capitalize. Ends up getting a tsunami and the win over Roman Reigns. Really, and they did all night kind of wanted to go back to this and show how big of a victory this was for Bronson Reed. They call it the biggest one of his career. I still think the Andre a couple years ago might be competing with that. But in any case, surprise win, I think, for many of us to see Bronson Reed actually get the win over Roman Reigns, a man they've protected and maybe you could argue continue to protect. But this was more about, in doing something, moving the storyline forward for each side. Bronson Reed puts him over as a top guy. And for Roman Reigns, starts to get that division with Jey Uso and Jimmy, maybe. I mean, we'll see where this goes. The Usos heated up a little bit. In fact, he told him to stay away from him until Christmas. I was starting to kind of think through my WWE calendar. It's like, okay, is he talking about a certain event that's coming up, or is he just saying, he'll see him at Christmas?
Yeah, that one was pretty funny there. But I mean, honestly, it makes sense. They're really trying to hype up the vision, and we kind of talked about Bronson Reed being the guy that, kind of the fall guy, right? Would be the one taking the pins in that. And this just shows, hey, no, he's gonna have a legitimate case for jumping over Braun Breaker. Say, hey, I pinned Roman Reigns. I pinned somebody that, through the last 5 years has been probably the top guy. So I think that was good storytelling there. And, Roman Reigns, I think, is one of those guys. You don't want to give him too many losses, but a loss here and there, not going to derail what he wants to do. And, like you said, it's furthering the Usos, the whole Jay thing. Things like that. So I was surprised, but at the same time, after I looked at it, kind of really got to examine. I was like, hey, that was a really good move for them to do, because now Bronson Reed is going to be able to go, big, chest, the tribal thief, as I like to call him, and I expect it tomorrow. They're going to have like a parade or something like that, for him for that.
Yeah, we'll see what they do. They're talking about setting up a celebration there. Part of that's going to be with Seth later too, but. It's interesting, how long can you? He's kind of just using Roman Reigns' popularity, obviously, to boost his own, the tribal chief, the thief now, the Shufala, all that. It's been fun, but at some point you've got to kind of break away from that and make something of your own. Of course, he's got the tsunami. This just kind of puts him over, but I think he's going to have to find a little bit something more to his character to really be a top guy. Like we're saying, I mean, in the ring, this puts him over. This puts the vision over. But as far as is Bronson Reed going to headline WrestleMania in 5 years, he's still got some work to do there, and that's going to be part of his character development that we're going to need to see from this. Roman, you're right. I mean, I again, we kind of, that's why you protect people, so you can give significant victories. If your top stars are 50-50 booking every time, then one of these surprise victories isn't going to do much for the underdog. So it's something that they've been protecting for a long time as Roman. And so I think it makes sense. But we've kind of been talking about it, is Roman Reigns is very much kind of the side piece to the Jey Uso, Usos storyline altogether. And so while it does make sense along those lines, it just feels like, man, sometimes you would think they would have huge plans for Roman Reigns. And it's been nice. Again, he's kind of in that stage of his career, I guess, Bronson Reed getting the rub off him, Jey Uso getting the rub off of him, but coming off of years of the top story being about him, I'm just kind of surprised they didn't have anywhere to pivot, or maybe they think they can kind of, again, give the rub to some other people all of a sudden bring him back up and he's believable as a top star.
Yeah, it almost makes you think that, I know there's always talks about contracts, how long people are going to do this, but, Roman having the leukemia and everything kind of makes you think, is he going to be around for, a long time? Because this is the first time we've seen it since August, and then before that it was around May or something like that. Whenever Netflix debuted, he kind of he's taking time, more and more time off. So yeah, I mean, he may be going into that stage of his career where, putting over talent and then come back, have occasional feuds here and there. But I think the dominant Roman Reigns that we've been used to seeing may be coming to an end there.
Yeah, we'll see kind of what they're able to do. Like I said, I mean, they'll bring him out. You put him away for a little bit, bring him out, people go crazy for him. So it's one of those deals, kind of like Brock Lesnar. It doesn't matter where you leave him off. You just bury it for a few weeks. Don't show him on TV, bring him back, and he'll be seen as the top star. So they can always do that. I just, again, a little bit surprised that they didn't have any better plans for Roman Reigns or kind of this story that they've had so far. I mean, we go back to it. The post losing to Cody thing was kind of the battle with Solo, and I was like, okay, what is this going to lead to? And it didn't really lead to a whole lot. I don't know if Solo's any better for the whole thing. I mean, Roman eventually did get the Ula follow back, but
we've seen where that went. That went absolutely nowhere either. You know, because he doesn't have a tribe. He should have just let Solo have it. I mean, there was no point in that with everything there. So yeah, I don't know. They'll think of something. I know we're all hoping for War Games. I guess I don't remember when that is, but we're hoping the Usos are involved in that. Roman's involved in that. Another thing I thought of, this is just going to spin it, but now that I think of War Games, if Roman's not involved and they pivot away from that, man, hey, have Bronson Reed go after that Intercontinental Championship for Dom. Since he had this, give him a title shot, but not the title shot, obviously. And then the two fractions kind of, have an issue there. And that could be something fun. Because I don't know, with this whole don't talk to me till Christmas, like you said, I'm just like, man, does that mean Roman's just this was it, the rub and gone for 2.5 months? That's a long time again in there. And you like when Roman Reigns is around, it brings something that only he can provide right now. And I mean, you got the John Cena and whatnot, but Roman Reigns, I mean, yeah, you have CM Punk, Cody, all that. But when Roman Reigns is there, it's something else.
Well, and they have really left, again, all this is kind of just to kind of set up Jey Uso. And along with kind of what they were doing on Monday night was basically Roman continuing to try to convince Jey Uso he's the top guy, to be more like him, all that sort of stuff. I think it really leaves Jey Uso in the most interesting spot Jey Uso's ever been, for at least us, right, who want a little bit more something to his character other than Yeet, which gets people going in the intro and all that, and led him to WrestleMania. So different strokes for different folks. Different people might say differently, but as far as I'm concerned, Jey Uso is the most interesting he's ever been.
Yeah, he is. Thankfully, without the title, because we saw how that was. Have him do something like, I talked about this last week. I think it was a year ago or right before their split. Roman was saying, hey, when I'm done, when the bloodline was full effect, he's like, you're the next guy, you're next up. And WWE's really ran with that. So, if Jey can do something with it, become the top guy, hey, that's good. But I'm still going to say you can't be the top guy if you're not great in the ring. And he needs to still fix that spear. It looks good at times, but then he does one time where it doesn't even connect, or the super kick, the super kick marathon they do. He needs to get better in the ring before he can position himself as that top guy. Because as much as people can hate on Roman Reigns, he is great in the ring. Like, he can really sell. He's a powerhouse. He's perfected his craft there. Jay's not on that level.
It's funny. I remember a couple of months ago, we've been poking fun at his spear since they really strapped the rocket to him. And he did a spear, and the announcers were like, "Is that a crossbody?" And it was. It looked more like a crossbody than a spear. So yeah, he's got some work to do there. But we'll see. I mean, eventually, if they do bring him back together, or have Jey show up and Roman's mad at him and Jey super kicks him or something, I mean, boom, you've got the magic back of kind of all the twists and turns of the bloodline there. So we'll see. A lot of interesting things can play out now from this match. Like we were saying, I thought it was just gonna be, it's kind of thrown together in the last week that they put this out there. So I just figured Roman Reigns another, victory over Bronson Reed, put him over without actually winning the match. So this was a good surprise there. Tiffany Stratton versus Stephanie McCourt. Again, this is champion versus champion. You had said going into this for weeks now that Stephanie McCourt had to win this one. I thought they were going to maybe protect Tiffany Stratton's undefeated streak. But all good things must come to an end, I suppose. And this was the moment. At some point, I knew she was going to lose. Who is it that they're going to put over as part of it? And they decided to put over somebody who already has a belt. So that's why I'm a little bit frustrated, right? Stephanie McCourt's already there. But a big win for Stephanie, certainly, as she runs through her debut. It's kind of funny, too. I thought, her corkscrew moonsault looks fantastic. Mm-hmm. And that's what ended up getting the win for her as kind of the finishing move. And as they were celebrating, again, the commentators was like, well, they got to find a new name for that. I was like, well, probably true, but this is not the time to bring that up.
No.
So I thought that was kind of funny. But ultimately, again, Stephanie McCourt, who is just kind of taking the wrestling and taking WWE's by storm. It was noted to me though, you kind of wonder if they got to do something with her entrance. Mm-hmm. I kind of like the horns that kind of show up, but it's not necessarily kind of getting the people going. So I saw some people online saying, that she didn't get a very big pop. People in the building said, no, she was getting a huge crowd. Everybody was in for it. So it just kind of depends on how you look at it there. But again, this is the case to me. There's not necessarily a winner here. Well, I shouldn't say there's not a winner. Stephanie McCourt's clearly the winner. This is what the case to me where it's not great to have your champion versus champion. Tiffany Stratton, to me, has lost a lot of magic. And now she goes back to the locker room with Nia Jax and just everybody, the same type of thing. It almost kind of sets up like, okay, if she's lost the magic, is she going to lose the belt? And to me, that's why I thought that maybe they would protect this until WrestleMania or get a really good feud going that maybe, could have their own storyline on SmackDown to overcome Tiffany Stratton, the dominant champion for the longest time. But instead, again, they're strapping the rocket to Stephanie McCourt. Triple H goes out there and congratulates her. And
yeah, and I'm since I knew that Stephanie was gonna be the one that wins. Hey, I'm on the mindset of keep Tiffany on this kind of losing the magic streak, have her eventually lose the belt. She can come around and be like, hey, Steph, you kind of started this, and then boom, move her to Raw, which I've been asking for. I want Tiffany Stratton on Raw. Like,
right.
The matches she can have with everybody on Raw just seems amazing, and she's been on SmackDown her whole career. Move her over. You have her chasing the belt again, and then they meet at Mania. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that could be a good way to do it. We'll see. I mean, both of them are kind of wide open, and that's going to be the fun of Monday and Friday. Like I always say, some of my favorite weekly episodes are the ones after the premium live events. For these two, we'll see where they go. Like I said with Stratton, though, unfortunately, it's probably just Nia Jax again.
Oh man, please don't. I mean, yeah, you know what? I know she's losing a lot. She's a comedy act, but man, just have it Chelsea Green versus Tiffany Stratton. I think that'd be fun. That's what the people want, right? Like Tiffany, or if they decide not to move Tiffany to Raw, she beats up on Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green's somebody that can lose, 15 matches in a row and still be a fan favorite. I think that's just, I don't know. Please don't do Nia Jax again. That's just what I'm asking. Please don't.
We'll see what they do there. Probably the match of the night, if not the match in quite some time, was John Cena and AJ Styles. Obviously, this didn't have a whole lot of build up toward it, but you don't need a lot of history that they could kind of replay. And so they've been somewhat heating up AJ Styles and tag team matches over the last couple of weeks. And of course, John Cena, anytime he can show up and have a wrestling match now that he's down to his final few, it feels big. Really good match, really turned into an all-timer in the fact that they were both doing all sorts of finishing moves from some of the best wrestlers over the last couple of decades. We had the Walls of Jericho, the RKO, even teasing the punt. Tombstone Pile Driver ultimately got the win for John Cena. Skull Crushing Finale was in there. The Accolade, Sweet Chin Music, Sister Abigail obviously was a big one. But ultimately, John Cena does defeat AJ Styles, which would have been shocked if it went any other way. But this was just a really fun match. And what's hilarious about it is John Cena's been doing this his last couple of matches, is kind of paying tribute to some of the bigger time opponents or rivals that he's had over the years. And I think this is all in reaction to the crowd chanting to him that he can't wrestle, because throughout the majority of his career, like many, you kind of get into that, the powerhouse. You've got 5 moves of doom, and they're the moves that everybody loves and looks out for. And so that's what you go with for, the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. And he's out there to show, all these different moves, I can do it. I can do them as well. And it was just funny, especially watching him do a couple of the moves, his facial attempts at some of them, especially Randy Orton's vintage Orton. I thought was hilarious. But ultimately, my only problem with this match is I would have loved them to have finished with the Sister Abigail. Mm-hmm. That got the biggest reaction, I think. And obviously you got the Fireflies afterwards. Yeah. I thought it was over then, and I think that would have really cemented it in an all-time type of match. But they went ultimately back to Undertaker for the finisher, the Tombstone Pile Driver, which the Undertaker is everybody's favorite. So.
Yeah, and he's some of these stories you're starting to hear. It seems like the Undertaker still has pulls. He's doing that one show too, like a developmental, not NXT, but kind of like a, I don't know, like an America's Got Talent type for the wrestling. It's a little weird there.
Is that the NIL people that are involved?
Yeah, I think so. And then they're doing like their own every week. Someone Dancing with the Stars is kind of what it's like, but wrestling, and things like that. But yeah, no, I thought it was really fun. And AJ Styles came out in his outfit that from I think he had like the necklace and he wore the shorts, right?
Oh yeah, from his TNA.
Yeah, from his TNA, and John Cena, gave the announcer that card to pretty much give AJ his flowers. And so I thought it was a lot of fun. This is what we wanted to see for the John Cena farewell tour. I think, is him just going against it, having fun, just letting loose. Honestly, we'll look back at it and say his heel turn was a failure. They didn't even need, they didn't need to do that. It could have been, he was neutral, just give us John Cena out there fighting, wrestling guys for the last time. That would have been perfection. And with AJ Styles, that's 100% what we got. And now the next conversation is going to be who's next, and who's last, because he has 4 appearances left, and then it's goodbye.
Yeah. It's it'll be here before we know it. But I'm interested to see who's left in front of John Cena. But to your point, a lot of the reaction is this: they should have just done this the whole time. Mm-hmm. This should have been the retirement tour. You would have got a lot of more of those old kind of revenge matches in, or old rivalries, and that would have been fun. Again, going to the John Cena heel turn, I still think is one of the greatest of all time. Yeah. The execution afterwards was not it. And part of that is just The Rock disappearing altogether. Mm-hmm. John Cena coming out and telling the crowd that they stink and stuff like that. I mean, it just kind of wasn't exactly what we thought it could have been. And certainly could, altogether, but they're trying to make it right here.
Yeah.
And so I think, obviously turning back face here for his final couple matches has been great. Let's go ahead and take a quick break here on Nuclear Heat. We got plenty more to talk. A few more matches from Crown Jewel from Saturday. And then we will also talk a little bit about some of the stories developing on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. We'll do that coming up next year on 93.7 The Ticket.
At Valentino's, we're on a mission for tradition. On every slice, for every bite. Golden baked crust, cooked to perfection every time. Savory sweet sauce that's made from our own secret recipe. Loaded with the perfect amount of fresh toppings and melty mozzarella cheese. It's the tradition that Nebraskans have come to love. From game day to every day. Valentino's. Taste the tradition.
Give your furnace a break with the help of Heartland of Nebraska Windows. Heartland of Nebraska Windows offers a free estimate, full window replacements, all vinyl triple pane windows, and a lifetime warranty of everything, while still keeping their prices affordable. Sounds too good to be true, right? Heartland of Nebraska Windows is locally and family owned with their own team of installers. Give the window experts at Heartland of Nebraska Windows a call today at 402-430-3852 or visit them online at heartlandofnebraskawindows.com. Elevate your home or business with the help of Heartland of Nebraska Windows today.
A1 Automotive's second location is now open at 5110 State Hill Drive, just off of Yankee Hill Road. The new location continues to specialize in all makes and models and provides personalized service as they have for 15 years. With the school year here, A1 Automotive reminds you that college students get 10% off any service, and they offer free tire repair with a valid college ID. Schedule your appointment today at a1autolincoln.com. and visit their new location in South Lincoln at 5110 State Hill Drive or downtown at 11th and L.
Have you been injured in an accident and don't know where to turn? You need an attorney you can trust to handle your case with professionalism and compassion. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group understand that a call to an attorney is a call for help. If you've been injured, we want to help you. Liberty Law's experienced attorneys are committed to the pursuit of justice for those injured. Call Liberty Law and find out how we can help you get the compensation you deserve. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. Call the trial attorneys you can trust. 877-42-LIBERTY.
Schweizo Construction is now hiring for skilled craftsmen, steel erectors, concrete workers, and general laborers. Schweizo Construction offers great benefits like premium wages, health and dental insurance, paid holidays and vacation, 401k with company match, life insurance, and disability insurance. They pride themselves on a legacy of 40 years built on integrity and trust. Joining their team means becoming part of a family that values hard work, dedication, and mutual respect. Apply today at schweizo.com. That's SCHWISOW.com.
Since 1983, Fast Mike's Roll-Offs has been a trusted and reliable company in Lincoln and the surrounding areas. Fast Mike's handles all sides of construction projects, home renovations, or big cleanouts. With the perfect size dumpster to fit your needs, Fast Mike's Roll-Offs will haul it all. With same-day delivery in Lincoln, affordable rates, and top-notch service, Fast Mike's Roll-Offs make cleanup quick and easy. Call now at 402-450-6828 or visit us online at fastmikesrolloffs.com. Book your dumpster today. Fast Mike's Roll-Offs, cleanup made simple.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Breaking here at the news desk. When you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, you can lock in your price for 2 years. Sources are confirming that when you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, your monthly price drops and you're locked in for 2 years. That's fiber fast internet, premium streaming TV, and reliable nationwide mobile coverage. And this just in, you must switch by Labor Day to secure that locked-in pricing for 2 years. Switch, stack, and save at allofiber.com/stack.
Bring new life to metal treasures with Kaiser Blasting and Coatings. From railings and fences to outdoor furniture and unique antiques, their expert team removes years of rust and weathering, then finishes each piece with a lasting powder coat. Trusted by industries across the region, now local homeowners and businesses can experience the same professional care. Visit KaiserBlasting.com or call 402-421-3559 to request your quote. Restore, protect, and make your metal shine like never before with the help of Kaiser Blasting and Coatings.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bakoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket. Got a comment from YouTube. Logan Slay says, "Whoa, Jake, I tuned in to listen to some James Franklin stuff, but I didn't know you guys covered WWE Let's Go GBR." Absolutely, Logan. Thanks for joining us. We'll get there's plenty of time to talk about James Franklin throughout the rest of the week, and hopefully there's not too much more development locally for that. But in any case, 9 to 10 is our usual time, so we're going a little bit earlier. But tell your wrestling friends, Nuclear Heat here from 9 to 10 every Sunday. Myself and Augie get together to talk some wrestling, and we were just talking about Crown Jewel is where we left off. Let's go ahead and get to the next matchup. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky against the Kabuki Warriors in this matchup here. Ultimately, I don't know if there's a whole lot to say about this. Ultimately, Ripley and Sky do get the victory over the Kabuki Warriors, but they pin Kairi Sane. So I'm assuming there's more coming. Obviously, Kairi Sane, not the main villain on the Kabuki Warriors right now. So I'm expecting there to be more coming from this. But it's been one of the better angles I think that they've had. Ripley obviously got the hometown reaction that they were expecting or hoping for. And so, I mean, it's been kind of setting up all along. You thought that this would be the result. I was just hoping there would be something other than just pinning Kairi Sane, because that means there's more to come. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I shouldn't say hoping, because I'm still interested in this feud. I'm interested to see where it goes next. Asuka's kind of been pushing Kairi Sane to maybe her limit, so that could be the next chapter in this as well. But I don't know what more to say, a whole lot more to say about it, because it doesn't feel like the end of the feud.
Yeah, it's not for sure. And it's just a match they gave the fans of Perth, Australia, because that's, Rhea Ripley from Australia. Hey, the Aussies 2-0, Bronson Reed.
Yeah.
Samoan, Australian, storyline purposes, but I think he's actually from Australia on there, and Rhea's from Australia. So they went 2-0. That's good. WWE doesn't normally do that. Sometimes guys, when they go back to their hometowns, get the pin or get pinned. But in this one, they decided to go pro Australian there. But yeah, I think what's going to end up happening is they're going to try to build Kairi Sane into something, because she's kind of been the focal point, even on Monday Night Raw. I think she got slapped by Asuka. Yeah. I'm going to be honest. When I was watching that segment, I kind of felt a little bit bad, a little bad for her, because I was like, okay, I know nobody does this a lot, but Asuka really was like pushing it to the limit there of being really mean to her, and things like that. And, I think from the beginning thought Kairi Sane is going to take this pin because you're going to protect Asuka, and things like that. So yeah, we might be seeing a new, what Io and Rhea had Rio, I think on their cheeks, and it could be Rio Sane now. They're going to be fighting to free Kairi Sane from Asuka, and then, hey, if that's kind of where they go, I hope they just let Asuka go into full heel mode and just unleash her. Have her just take out everybody. Because we know Asuka can be one of the most dominant wrestlers in the WWE on that. So I think that's kind of where they'll go, is they'll get Kairi Sane on their side, and then Asuka's just gonna be mad at the world and just finally unleash her evil side there.
Well, it'll be interesting too to see what becomes of Rio. I think at some point, right, Rhea and Io, they're kind of setting up the friendship as in usual WWE to get the split. But maybe before they do that, perhaps a run at the Charlotte. I mean, the tag team that they put over there with Charlotte and Alexa Bliss against Rhea and Io Sky. That might be some of the, those are all obviously single stars, but that may be a way to heat up the tag team division.
Oh, 100%. And that you forget that Charlotte and Alexa Bliss are the tag team champs because they haven't been on TV. They're doing backstage. They're not doing anything again. And that was such a big storyline. And yeah, you're right. If they do that, man, can you imagine Royal Rumble being not headline, but one of the matches? That's one of them. Oh, I think that'd be some gold right there. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. I know Charlotte and Alexa on Friday night agreed to face Zarya and Sol Ruka, so that would be fun. If Sol Ruka hits her finisher on Charlotte, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think Charlotte and Alexa are gonna come out there. But if the Soul Snatcher comes out and they get the win off of that, that would be very entertaining to see where they would go next too.
It would be a little disappointing, but I like Sol Ruka. I like that faction, but that's what the WWE does. They have an established faction as Charlotte, Alexa, that they wanted us to really go for. And then they get them to lose to some up and comers. And that's kind of, that's what the WWE does. So I would not be surprised if Sol Ruka and them, is Zyra, is that her name?
Yeah.
If they end up winning those titles away.
Yeah, which is interesting. Again, usually these single stars that get together for championship runs, like Charlotte and Alexa Bliss, as you're pointing out, just don't last that long. There's really no need to, unless they've really got something going in storyline. That's why I say, if you eventually run them into Ripley and Io Sky, that's a lot of star power in two teams. So that would be a lot of fun. Let's get to the main event though. Cody versus Seth Rollins. Of course, champ versus champ. Cody 3-0 in singles matches to this point against Seth Rollins. We saw a little bit of silliness. Seth Rollins mocking Cody's past with the Stardust stuff in this match. But a lot of heavyweight stuff. I mean, they're throwing everything at each other, including a Seth Rollins coast to coast, which I couldn't tell if he legitimately or actually actually got hurt on.
Yeah,
because he was definitely favoring his kind of shoulder at that point. Coast to coast are so dangerous. If you don't know the lingo there, it's jumping from one side of the ring into the corner of the other, and it's so hard. Like Jeff Hardy can do it. So it just, but to really get a whole lot of anybody to jump that far, Shane O'Mac's done it before, but it's funny because somebody even as athletic as Seth Rollins, who's been a high flyer for years in WWE, he barely even got his head over there. It's a tough move to pull off.
Yeah, it really is, but it's really fun when they can do it. And speaking of Shane O'Mac, isn't that kind of what ended his in-ring performance? Was either he got speared doing it or he tore something. He's been hurt a lot recently, but I just remember, anytime you'd see somebody, on the other side of the ring, and someone going up for the coast, I was like, man, this is going to be some nice stuff. But it just, I think Seth, as we've seen, being super athlete, like you said, barely getting it, just, you gotta tip your cap out to some of those guys that have been able to do it. But I was very surprised to see him pull that out, especially with the knee injury that we know was fake, that he had, but Seth has had a lot of injuries. So to pull something out like that, I was like, ooh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was, but it just kind of added to the excitement of a match. Again, it was a good match. Both of them hitting their finishers plenty of times. Cody Rhodes even hit the crossroads from the top rope. I thought that might be when it was all done. Seth Rollins was hitting the stomp a few times, and it was weird. And I'm forgetting the name, the Triple H's finisher,
the pedigree.
The pedigree. It was weird because they had throughout the night. John Cena also went for the pedigree. Yeah. I think there was 3 pedigrees almost attempted throughout the night, which was interesting. And Triple H, of course, showing up throughout the night as well. All right, well, he's heavily involved in this evening. But Seth Rollins did hit a pedigree and then a stomp, and that still wasn't enough. So it ultimately boiled down to Seth Rollins. The story they were telling is he was going to have to hit the stomp from a super stomp from the top rope. And the only problem I really have with this match is how dumb Cody looked. Just bending over at the he had to walk across the full side of the ring, and he was just bent over, just fully setting up for the super stomp, and walked all the way across and took it. Now, he did the same thing earlier in the night and avoided it, so you thought maybe he was trying to sucker Seth Rollins into it again, but it just looks so silly. It's like, dude, have you not scouted this guy at all? This is the one position you can't be. You're just asking for a defeat in that case. But in any way, Seth Rollins getting the win here, I didn't know what they were going to necessarily do. Of course, much of the storyline leading up to this was that the Vision, Paul Heyman and the Bronze weren't knowing what they were going to do. And it sounded like Paul Heyman did know what he was going to do, which may be a split from Seth Rollins if he did not win this. Prove he was the most dominant man in the WWE, but they go with the heel to get the win. Again, now it's just kind of interesting. What do you do next? I think this is the right decision in my mind, Seth. This is part of the story they've been telling since WrestleMania, and he continues to try to take over, and you really just don't want to have this loss. But a few different things that I would say. One, if we're heating him up for this big moment and all that, and to keep this steam rolling, what was the whole CM Punk? Intergender loss match was. I don't know if that was necessary. Probably took some steam off of him. It was big enough. Obviously, made the some of the returns and stuff exciting. But I don't know if that's what I would have done if this was the plan all along. And then the other thing is, and I said this with Tiffany Stratton and Stephanie Victor, is I don't know if Tiffany Stratton's going to be able to regain that magic. Cody obviously kind of will. He's over. I don't think you get another big challenger in front of him. We're just as back and intrigued. So I don't think it necessarily hurts Cody. Like it was a loss would have hurt Seth, and that's why I think they had to make this move.
Yeah, no, I said that Seth needed to win, that was my prediction on this, just for the Vision, just for everything that they were building up for that. And this is where you get into, like you said, that what do you do? One of your champions has to lose, one of them has to go. And with Cody winning last year, I just don't think he needed to win again this year. If he would have won this year, I think you would have gotten to I know we bring this up a lot, but the Super Cena, hey, this guy, come on. And he's just not attaching to me as he is with other fans. But with Seth Rollins, a win here is, hey, he's the best of the best, which is what he's trying to say, as we've been talking about. Bronson Reed got his win. Now Braun Breaker's got to do something. They got Paul Heyman. And I honestly think next is that very long feud we've been expecting with CM Punk to really just start to boil up. And, I think we'll see some like onesie, twosie challengers, every once in a while. But I think the main focus is still going to be CM Punk, Seth Rollins. That will eventually probably lead to WrestleMania. We'll probably get War Games, something in there. Cody will join probably the other side of it. And yeah, I think that's kind of where you'll go. But I think this was a great win, and a great win for that World Heavyweight Championship, because it hasn't really, it's still been looked at kind of like the secondary championship, right? Of the main event scene. And at least for right now, you can say it's that holder of it is the top champion.
But it is interesting. Monday night, CM Punk, LA Knight, and Jey Uso are kind of fighting to be the next one in line. So we'll see tomorrow night what that does bring. I think you're right. Ultimately, the big payoff is going to be CM Punk and Seth Rollins and finally getting them one-on-one. But again, the Jey Uso angle is very intriguing. And then there's LA Knight, the third man in the party, but at least he's there. For Cody, I'm interested to see what they do next. Obviously, they've been kind of teasing, Randy Orton's been on his side. That would be a great way, obviously, to heat him back up. But that's where I would be frustrated. I would say heat Cody up again before you ultimately go with Cody and Randy Orton, just to get him hot again, get him rolling a little bit.
Yeah, I could see that, but I think Cody is one of those people at the same time that he can take a loss. Heck, he was pinned by Solo Sikoa when he was champion, right? And that didn't really derail anything. So, and I think a loss from Seth Rollins, if he's the guy that pins you, I don't think that really hurts all that much. I'm going to be honest. They need to really pull that Randy Orton turn, whether they're going to, now, and if they're going to take the title away from Cody, because this is one of those storylines where they've kind of just been teasing us. You don't want to tease too long, because then people lose interest, and they got to do it now. I agree. That has to be the next storyline that they go with.
That would be very exciting. Let's go ahead and take our final break. When we get back, we'll talk a little bit more of what went down Monday night and on Friday night on Raw and SmackDown, respectively. We'll do that next year on Nuclear Heat on 93.7.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Breaking here at the news desk. When you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, you can lock in your price for 2 years. Sources are confirming that when you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, your monthly price drops and you're locked in for 2 years. That's fiber fast internet, premium streaming TV, and reliable nationwide mobile coverage. And this just in, you must switch by Labor Day to secure that locked-in pricing for 2 years. Switch, stack, and save at allofiber.com/stack.
Bring new life to metal treasures with Kaiser Blasting and Coatings. From railings and fences to outdoor furniture and unique antiques, their expert team removes years of rust and weathering, then finishes each piece with a lasting powder coat. Trusted by industries across the region, now local homeowners and businesses can experience the same professional care. Visit KaiserBlasting.com or call 402-421-3559 to request your quote. Restore, protect, and make your metal shine like never before with the help of Kaiser Blasting and Coatings.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bakoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Yes, we're back here on Nuclear Heat talking some pro wrestling with you here on a Sunday night. We just went through the Crown Jewel card, and man, I thought it was a really good one. In fact, I think this week in wrestling has just been very good. There's some weeks I can't say that, but there's been a lot of developments that I thought have been on the right side of things, and that's what we'll jump into here as we have a few minutes to talk about Monday Night Raw and SmackDown and some of the feuds and characters that weren't necessarily involved in Crown Jewel. We'll open it with Monday Night Raw, Becky versus Maxine Dupree. And I know what you're thinking. That's not going to be a good match. It actually was pretty entertaining. Dupree looking better than she ever has before. Fisherman suplex, ankle locks applied there. Still has a little bit of work to do, I'll admit. But nevertheless, I think she's getting better. And ultimately, this ended with Becky getting counted out because she got a little bit of a dust up with the referee earlier in the match. So the referee was not happy with Becky. And then she got outside. She was talking trash to the crowd. And eventually she gets a quick 10. So one of the biggest upset we've seen in years, Maxine Dupree defeats Becky.
Yep. I mean, 100% how we drew it up, right? Maxine Dupree is on the trajectory of her career. Hey, give her that title, man. You know, she won it fair and square. You know, I know it was a count out, so it doesn't really count. But hey, she beat the champ. So we'll probably see a little bit of a storyline where Maxine's going after that Intercontinental Championship, right?
Yeah, more TV time for Tozawa. So everybody involved is a winner.
We love that. Is Otis still part of that group? He is. I
don't know. I think is he injured or something?
He might be, because I've noticed it's just been Tozawa and Maxine Dupree. But man, you got to give somebody their flowers. She was horrible when she first came in, and even just like last year. And I know a lot of it has to do with also who you wrestle with. That helps, but she looked a lot better. Still not great, like you said, but a lot better. She actually looks like she wrestles for a career.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it is. I think this is going to be an excuse to give her a championship opportunity. I wouldn't expect this to be a long back and forth 50-50 feud. I think Becky's just going to get a, kind of clean her, move on to the next one. But it's fun enough for a few weeks. Roxanne Perez defeated Lyra Valkyria. Valkyria no longer protected as she once was. Bayley and Valkyria then went after the Judgment Day. So not much more to say. I've been fascinated. I like this feud. I like everybody involved. At some point, we do have to kind of get somewhere though, because they're kind of just each of them fighting each other every week.
Yeah, no, I agree with it. It wasn't a bad match either. You know, they're putting on good matches, but it's just going to be continued from what we're going on. So expect to see kind of the same old, right?
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier too, CM Punk, LA Knight, Jey Uso, all fighting to try to be kind of the next in line to take on Seth Rollins for that championship opportunity. We also mentioned part of this show was Roman basically telling Jey to be more like him, and telling Jimmy once he won that title, he's more like me than he is like you. So kind of interesting dissension there in the original Bloodline. We also saw one thing I thought was interesting that I don't think they're going to stick to for long, but the Judgment Day, Finn Balor, JD, and Dom for a week were a united front, kind of all three walking together. They ultimately lost the match to AJ Styles, Dragon Lee, and Penta in a match where Dom ultimately scrambled because Rusev came out. So I'm sure that was a 1 week thing, but it was kind of nice and refreshing to see them all on the same page.
Yeah, it was, until they lost again, and you're just like, well, here we go. It's the same old Judgment Day. Just kind of waiting to see when they're going to really go into that, breaking it. At this point, Intercontinental triple threat, JD, Finn, and Dom. And let's just have it go.
Yeah, that would be a pretty fun way to do it. Let's jump over to SmackDown. Sami Zayn had his U.S. Open challenge. Shinsuke Nakamura returns as a face, and they have a pretty good fight until Tama Tonga returns with his face painted along with the rest of the MFTs and destroys that matchup. I've said it. They need to do something to kind of get the MFTs interested behind Solo Sikoa. Tama Tonga by far has been my favorite. Now this face paint thing, we'll see if he still says yeah with the face paint. That's what I know a lot of fans are hoping for. One other note, and again, no body shaming, but this is wrestling. This is part of the gig. Tama Tonga looked like he gained a few pounds.
Yeah, he looked like me. Like we enjoy our fast food. No, that was kind of one of the things. And you hate to point that out. You hate to really body shame and things like that. But yeah, your career is you're out there, trying to do this stuff without a shirt on. Should probably be in a little better shape. To his credit, and kind of like what happened to Sheamus, sometimes you're not fully recovered. You can't get into that mode. You lose some of it when you're not working out. Not from experience, because I've never been, an in shape person, but I've heard stuff like that. So it might have been he healed and didn't have enough time to really get his body back by the time they do that. But another thing I wanted to say, Shinsuke has his entrance music back.
That's right.
So I know it's not WWE, but the Iconics out in TNA, they got their entrance music back, and they're the TNA tag team champions. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Bring them back to the WWE if you're gonna really have them, back in that. But some old favorites are getting their music back. That's a huge plus there.
And we'll see what Shinsuke. I mean, I like bringing him back. He's always exciting. I mean, his last few runs too. They kind of heat him up for a feud real quick, and then he disappears. And so we'll see if they can kind of get anything going again. The MFT's targeting a few different people in this show, so it's not necessarily a feud lined up next for them. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But I think Shinsuke, welcome back, along with Tama Tonga there. Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu were brawling. They got a matchup set for this week. I kind of forget what they're brawling about. I don't even. It's hard to keep up with who Drew McIntyre is mad at these days. And Jacob Fatu, really along with Penta, they had something with these guys, and what's really happened to them, I can't tell you. I mean, they from a couple months ago, I would have said they would, if they were at I'll just use numbers. If they were at a 6, I would have said they'd have been at a 10 by now. Yeah, and they've kind of fallen off to maybe a 5 as far as the momentum's gone.
Yeah, it's the LA Knight situation. You had something. Well, for Jacob Fatu, we know what happened. They decided to have him lose the United States Championship feud to Solo Sikoa. That's done nothing. So that was a big one there. I think they're feuding over Jacob just telling Drew McIntyre to stop complaining and to shut up. I literally think that's it.
I think you're right. You're right.
On there. But I expect a great match. Because we talked about at the beginning of the show how Braun Strowman, was a big guy. He had a heck of a feud with Jacob Fatu before they, released him. That's why we were so surprised. We're like, hey, they got something. Do that with Drew McIntyre. Have them just all out brawl all over the arena, over here, over there. One guy gets thrown off, the Jumbotron, things like that. Just be creative with it. And I think you can have a great feud here and then can elevate them and kind of push them back into those scenes they're used to being in.
I hope so. I'm a huge fan of Drew McIntyre, but the shtick is kind of worn thin on me now, because he just doesn't win a whole lot of feuds. He does, kind of go out there and complain. He can always win a match at any time or get over on anybody at any time, but ultimately, again, loses these feuds. And so I'm interested to see what happens with this one, because I really don't feel like what probably will happen is what always happens. He wins a few matches, ends up losing a feud to Jacob Fatu, and Fatu moves on. He goes, and so I'm not really going to be all that surprised, but I just feel like, man, he needs to get. It's weird to say in wrestling because all you do is fight matches and beat people up, but that's all he does is fight matches and beat people up, and then lose the important ones. So he's got to do something there. White Six defeated the Street Profits for the tag titles. This is the second time that, the White Six haven't fought in a month, and this is the second time that they've beaten the Street Profits in a month. So they really just kind of, I don't know if they didn't know what to do with them during that time. The MFTs then confront them. That kind of got a pop, so that could be exciting moving into the future. But really, this SmackDown was about Aleister Black and Damian Priest maybe ending the feud, perhaps, probably not. I mean, I'm sure Damian Priest is going to get back if his face is burned a little bit.
Yeah.
But it is at least a very good development in that feud, and that there's something different going on. I mean, this was last man standing, so they were fighting to the very end. Razor's Edge, not enough to make me believe that Aleister Black was like at his very end.
Yeah.
So I think that was the only thing, is like we've seen these last man standing fights where guys barely get up at 10, and it was a little bit unbelievable in my mind that Aleister Black was that beat up that he couldn't do it. But basically at his last, he was basically begging Damian Priest not to hit him. All of a sudden, Zelina Vega comes out in some heelish looking attire, and convinces Damian Priest to at least slow down. And Aleister Black then uses a fireball to get Damian Priest distracted, and then hits Black Mass for the win. So I think an exciting development, at least in a feud that I think at times have been a little bit stale.
Yeah, and hey, they are finally for the first time, husband and wife, Zelina Vega and Aleister Black, they're putting them together. So that's something there. When you said fireball, I was like, how do you do a fireball? And then I was like, wait, no, that's his wrestling move, a name of that. So yeah, that kind of that confused me there for a second. But yeah, we can see what happens here with that pairing now.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be exciting. I think that's really rejuvenated that. But there's a lot of good storylines, a lot of good feuds going on. So tune in to WWE this week, and then tune back into Nuclear Heat next week at 9 o'clock. We'll talk all about it. Plenty more coming up here on a Sunday night on 93.7 The Ticket. So stay tuned to our streams as well. We'll be right back here in just a few minutes.